Welcome to the Turbit Podcast. Joining me today is Andrea Bilbao, our head of customer success. With her engineering background and passion for sustainability, Andrea ensures that customers not only use AI, but leverage it to drive real business and operational improvements. Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Michael. Nice to be here today.
Yeah, very welcome. And I was really looking forward to have this conversation with you. Before we dive into customer success and how you work, I would be super keen to know more about you. I mean, I know you, but let's the audience listen to where you come from and what led you to Turbit.
Nice. Then I will introduce a little bit about my background. I originally come from Spain, and since I was a small child, I always enjoyed mathematics and physics and so on, which led me to my industrial engineering background. I was never really sure, but I really knew that I wanted to solve problems, and that was what I was quite good at. And this led me into the industrial engineering role, and somehow I was always quite keen on renewable energies and so on. So sustainability, climate change, this was always my motor, my drive. I think it all started when I was a small child, and my father gave me a book about climate change and how the ozone layer was in the 90s a very big environmental concern. And since then, it always clicked, and I was always finding myself in those topics. However, life had other plans, and I ended up in the aviation industry, which I really like, but was never my passion, my passion, let's say, even though I was really liking it. But I remember my colleagues looking at the sky every time an airplane was passing by and identifying the model and so on. Yeah, like it's
You
an
looked on the ground.
A350 and so on. And I didn't really care that much.
Yeah.
And I finally decided to take the step into the renewable energy world, which was it was a good combination of my previous studies and previous experiences, because I had been working on loads calculations in the aviation industry. Which is a bit of a lonely role, because you have to calculate a lot on your own, and I was always enjoying a lot when customers were coming in and so on. So I decided to look for roles which were innovative in the renewable energy sector, in contact with customers, and customer success sounded pretty well, actually.
Yeah, I mean, back in the days, I imagine. And to be frank, also for me, the word customer success was a new word. Like, what did you think back in the days what customer success means?
Yeah, well, in the beginning, I also had to Google it, honestly, because my first thought was, well, if there's a company which cares about the success of their customers, it must be a good company. That was my first thought. And then I realized that this is a quite common term in the B2B industry. Yeah, this is what happens when you start digging in. But in the very beginning, what it really meant, it was a bit unknown, and I think this comes with the nature of the role, because it's quite recent in the B2B industry, and it changes a lot from company to company. So it could be a lot of different things.
Yeah. I also remember when we started here at Turbit, I think it was 4 years ago, I was doing customer success, quote unquote, if you can call that. So what I was doing, I was talking to customers with our app and how they worked in it and solved their problems. And then I was talking with Christian, hey, like, we are doing this every day. So somehow this isn't that also a role that we need to fill? And we also didn't know exactly how this role looks like. And I completely believe you when you say it really depends on the company, how this role, customer success, looks like. And it's also a role that's quite evolving here at Turbit, and I believe also elsewhere, and we're going to come to that. But the way how we started it, and maybe you can tell us a little bit your point of view on that. I remember we had meetings together with customers using the app, and how was it for you coming from the aviation industry, getting into the wind industry? Like, how was it for you?
Yeah, there were a lot of different things or a lot of changes. I also remember those conversations initially with our customers, and my first thought was that when you come from the aviation industry where everything is so manual, in terms of how manufacturing processes work and how individualized everything is, I found not that many differences in terms of how the industry works. It's my expectation was to expect a bit more of an innovative industry, and this was a bit of a shock for me. I really like those conversations though, because we're trying to bring something new to the market and to the industry, and we could see how in the beginning there was a little bit of resistance and how it was decreasing over time. And in the end, when you work with people, regardless of the industry, you need to be able to handle that either way.
Yeah.
So it was really, really interesting. Yeah, I'm at the same time glad that these kind of conversations are evolving a little bit and are going in a different direction too.
Yeah, of course. Otherwise, it will also get a little bit boring if everything stays the same. I remember also for us at Turbit before you joined, it was quite important to have somebody who's not inside the wind industry joining in customer success, because I remember when I was talking to customers that they a lot of times said, "Yeah, that's not possible. How can AI solve this?" Or they were super critical in the beginning. And we thought, oh my God, if we hire somebody who is from the industry and then we have sitting somebody at our desk talking on our behalf and telling customers, yeah, that's not possible, then we would have definitely not come where we are. And so I'm super glad you joined us. And I think, so how was it for you this?
I think I was so innocent at that time, that was playing for us in the end and for our customers, because I remember at that time, so Turbit was also in an earlier stage as it is today. And I remember some conversations were in direction, hey guys, we have identified here an anomaly, and the customer themselves were questioning, is it really something, because we need to communicate this to the OEMs and so on. And I was like, let's communicate. And sometimes they were like, but they're not gonna reply. And I was like, why not? Like,
let's try it out.
Like out of innocence, sometimes. So it's a mix between bravery and innocence in this case. And it worked many times. It was a successful strategy.
Yeah, I mean, it worked because you were brave, but also, of course, because you have the technical background to explain the errors, etc., and write them in a nice form. And the communication is a super big thing, I think. So when you look at you said you like problem solving, and how did this shape your approach towards customer success? Because maybe in some other roles, customer success can only be very, I would say flat. Maybe I don't want to say anything bad to other customer success roles, but it's like here it's super technical, very deep, very problem solving.
I think this is what makes a bit different customer success at Turbit from maybe other customer success departments or in other industries. So it's this combination between having strategical initiatives with customers and being in the end of the day, customer success is about renewals, and it's about moving the needle in every customer interaction to ensure that the customer gets added value from this. At Turbit, this has a bit of extra sauce because this implies having some kind of technical background about the wind turbine technology, industry, and so on. So that assuming, and of course putting our customers as the experts on this, but having this additional input for them to combine the know-how that we have at Turbit together with the wind turbine knowledge and being able to lead those conversations with them. So this is what makes Turbit customer success a little bit different, that we will, even though we want to get more strategical, I don't think we will lose this kind of technical touch points with our customers.
Yeah, I completely agree. Wind energy, the whole wind turbine is very, very complicated. It's a very complex machine. You have so many different types. You have so many different parts, service events, reports, information all over the place, and you need to put it together.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is a manual industry, as I was saying before.
Yeah. But that makes it also so exciting and interesting, I think. Yeah. So in the beginning, I remember we were having these customer success meetings together with our customers, and then step by step, you also had your first customers alone. Like, what were the challenges that you faced back then, and what were your learnings together with the customers?
Well, in the beginning, it was a lot of wind energy knowledge in general. And it was, at that time, it was challenging to, even knowing that I don't know as much as our customers do, to still enhance the value that Turbit can provide. Yeah. And in that case, or in these conversations, me as a person. It was a quite male-dominated industry as well, which was also in the case of aviation and engineering. Yeah, so it was not the first time there, but that was also quite shocking for me that was still the case in the wind energy or wind industry.
Yeah, but I think that has also changed a little bit over time. Now, when we were going to the Hamburg Wind last year,
True.
a lot of women joined the industry, I think.
It is really nice to see. Yeah, you can really get to see the evolution over the years and how a bit more equal it is getting. Probably, I believe there's still a lot to be done here, but it's nice to appreciate the steps in the right direction.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So, how does a typical Turbit customer look like? I mean, not physically, but like, what kind of person is that? What kind of problems do they have? Yeah.
We have a colorful palette of customers, I'd say. So as you mentioned, our customers are mostly operators, asset managers. Yeah. So conversations come a lot from the operations of the wind energy. But what I would say most of our most successful customers share is that they foresee a future where things need to change if they want to continue or to remain in the wind energy industry and remain successful. Yeah, that they are able to identify that risks are rising, that things are changing in the industry, and that there are some certain changes needed in the daily way of working, and that that maybe we cannot continue working in the exact way as 10 years ago because that doesn't work. And this is, I think, a common pattern in most of our customers. Yeah. Curious people in the end as well. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I think the people who decide to work with Turbit are quite curious and innovative people in the end. Nonetheless, they have challenges, right? Like, why do they decide to work with you and us? What do you think are their most challenges that they're facing?
I would agree. They are very innovative people, and their challenges, I think, well, if there are so many actually.
Yeah.
But I think it's getting more efficient. It's one of the main challenges, and
Yeah.
also being able to being proactive. It's funny because in customer success, I always talk about being proactive, but I think this is something that also happens in the wind industry, that we have raising risks. Professionals are more and more difficult to find, and still a lot of wind turbines, even more, because we have very, very challenging goals in Europe and in general in the whole world, and that needs to scale at the same pace. And making this happen together with the problems that downtimes, unplanned downtimes, risks that are arising. This is quite challenging, and you need to change the way of working and get ahead of that, because if you always react to problems, then you don't get out of this loop. You at somehow something needs to click so that you start being a bit more proactive on getting ahead, on prevention, and not always reacting.
Yeah. That would also have been my second question. Like, how can you personally, Andrea, how can you help the people in the wind industry that I think all have the vision to get closer to 100% renewable energy, but how can you help very, very personally?
Actually, this is why I try in my daily life, or in my role. Sometimes it's a process. We cannot expect that this change of mindset is going to happen from today to tomorrow, and it's just about taking those small steps.
Sorry, you mean like by process you mean like moving from more reactive to proactive, or?
So change, exactly, like this kind of changes happen over time, and sometimes as an asset manager, as an operator, you need to trust, but at the same time you need to see results, and navigating that moment and still having faith for this mindset that we are telling them and what can be achieved. It's a bit challenging to navigate. And this is this conviction, hey, there are customers who are doing this and it has worked. Taking that step, I can totally understand that our customers in the beginning have initial phase where trust needs to be built. And this is normal.
Totally true. And also, I remember in my conversations with customers, a big question mark that also always was there. Okay, but I can put a lot of work here, but what if the OEM and the service doesn't respond to me? Like, so this is more the topic. Different stakeholders in the industry that need to work together. And also when I started, I remember there was this, I don't want to call it fight, but let's say different interests between operators and service people, and they didn't really collaborate, but they kind of worked against each other. And there was this big mistrust from operators towards service, that they didn't do their job right. And then the service people said, but also we need to get the things done. And I think our job and also your job is like to bring the people together.
Totally. Like, and this is where Turbit starts playing a role, because this is we are neutral in this constellation, and we provide data insights. This is one of the things we do, and this is why our customers started working with us, because maybe they were lacking insights, they wanted to increase their know-how about their portfolio, they wanted to be better placed for discussions with the OEMs. And in the beginning, it was also challenging for us, I think, to understand that these conflicts of interest, that when you look at it, it makes total sense. So the asset managers want to avoid downtimes and to have the wind turbines in the best status possible. That it's also the interest of the OEM, but they cannot drive to every single turbine every time there is a tiny anomaly. So it's about finding that middle point, and also bringing people together without the aim of showing we do things better, we know more. It's just about bringing people together and enhance decision making based on data. That's the sole objective of this.
Yeah, and I think what maybe has happened in the past is that if you are a service person or a service company and you get a lot of requests from a lot of customers that are not real and not really proven from a data point perspective, then at some point you can't handle everything and you kind of block away, and then you focus on your own contract optimization and not towards the optimization of the turbine. I think this is also what happened a little bit, and data can really bridge that gap.
I remember a conversation with an OEM, and I can totally understand when they say we cannot update all our processes, because of course as an OEM we have our own processes to deal with anomalies, damages and so on, based on every single notification, and surpassing that barrier and that threshold, creating trust, that's a long-term goal. It's a relationship building, is staying there, and I think this is where bringing people together plays a very important role.
And then on the other hand, I completely understand and agree to our customers who say, hey, we pay for the service, why don't you do that service, or why don't you do the basic things? So
why don't we know anything about what has been done? Maybe it has been done, but we don't know what.
So this industry has this huge inefficiency because of the contracts, and because of the how it's made and how communication happens. And I think data and customer success can really close that gap and make everything, and everybody can benefit from it. Not only the operators and owners of the turbines, but also the service. In the end, you know, we had conversations with OEMs. They were super, super happy that we told them that they have a problem in the generator and they could fix it, and they were saving money. We're helping on both ends in the end.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
So then maybe coming to a more concrete example, like how does, okay, let's start with we have a new customer, or you don't know Turbit, and you start working with Turbit. Like, how do you start working with them? How does it look like?
Well, from the customer success point of view, regardless of how we connect to their data and so on, we usually start doing a kickoff meeting where we align together on what are their goals with from the tool, what are the timelines that they can expect from our collaboration. And super important, and I can only enhance this discovery session that we call it, where we really align and play or give it a lot of importance to understand why at all have you decided to purchase Turbit? What are you expecting from us? And then what needs to happen so that, or what's an early indicator for you to discover, okay, things are going in the right direction or not. So that's super important to align on this. And then based on that, we can create a quick plan with a couple action items, and then we know what we want to review. This is in order not to lose overview of what we want to achieve on the high level, because it's very easy to get lost in the details on the daily operations.
Yeah, totally.
Then we perform a couple or a workshop to train how to use the app and so on. And mostly it's not as much as how to deal with it, but how you can use the app so that these goals that you have defined can be achieved. That's the main goal from those trainings. And sometimes it requires a bit more assistance. Sometimes it does require a little bit less. Customer success has been supporting a lot in the past. I think this is natural evolution. Together with the product development, you need less assistance for customers. And now it's way, that gap is getting much smaller, which is really nice. And usually for customers, the onboarding phase, that's typical customer journey. Onboarding phases can be a little bit overwhelming because of what you may be expecting. Yeah, because this kind of Turbit services is not a one-time plugin B2B app that you download. It's actually a service and a long-term relationship that we are building over time. And in the beginning is also a lot of information. So that phase we need to deal it with a lot of love, and also making awareness that is normal to feel like this. And it's when those early indicators of success that I have mentioned before, when they start appearing, that's why it's so important to identify them in the first place. When they start appearing, then the learning curve starts getting a bit less steep. And that's when adoption starts and you feel more motivated to work with it because you know things are progressing and so on.
Yeah.
That's the usual start. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like, in the beginning, our customers really need a commitment to work into these things, right?
Yes, I thought, yes. In the end, of course, the most comfortable way is to think everything is done, but it's a two-way street here, and you need to put a little bit of effort, and that effort decreases over time. Yeah, the more fluent you get with the technology, but there's some sort of commitment that needs to happen, definitely. Also because the quicker you are, the better information you have to start a discussion with an OEM or to react on something in the end. If you want to get preventive, you don't want to wait too much in the end. Yeah. So it's about finding that sweet point.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then this is how you started. You make sure that the goals are set right. People are onboarded and people know how the app works, what they should prioritize, what they should not prioritize. And I think the other thing is also that the technology advances over time, and this gap that usually customer success is closing is also getting smaller and smaller, and the app can do more and more, and AI can do more and more for us. And so what's the next phase after you have established this collaboration? Like how does it look like?
You mean in terms of customer interactions?
Yeah, with like how do you work with them? You also mentioned like reactive and proactive support, etc.
So in the beginning, even during the adoption phase, where customers are still starting, even if it's over onboarding, we keep a very regular communication with our customers. In the end, we need to identify when customers are independent. Yeah, when they can be independent. When are they set?
Yeah.
If you ask a pure customer success person, every customer success interaction must move the needle towards those goals that have been defined. This has not been the reality at Turbit for a long time. Yeah, we have been the human in the loop for a long time because the technology was not as it is today, and therefore sometimes it was a bit more complex to understand those alarms, to make decisions based on them, and this is where customer success was closing that gap. How I foresee it is in a way that this gap is closed as much as possible, of course, knowing that it will never be totally closed, but still making sure that those interactions are just to ensure that we are going in the right way, but we are assisting sometimes in decision-making processes, because in the end, we bring a lot of know-how in terms of how to communicate it with the OEMs in the best way, how you should frame things so that the acceptance likelihood gets higher and so on. I think this is what customer success assists, but it's not, hey, here's a bug, oh, here I click here and it's not working. So this customer support which
Yeah.
is a different nature, but so easy to mix at the same time mentally. So how I foresee it, in order to answer your question, is even more data-driven than it is today, because today is not that data-driven. We are quite reactive still. We are making our way out of it. But we need to get more customer insights so that in the end we can get to know, hey, is this customer happy? Yeah, is this customer satisfied?
Yeah.
And how many interactions do we need to have with them to find this out?
Yeah.
Because in the end of the day, we are social people, but we all have a lot to do. And our meetings shall be efficient and optimized to discuss the things that are on point, and that's it. And I think everybody's happy if we achieve this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also quite an interesting topic, like how customer success will change over time when there will be more and more AI and more automated. And I said a while ago that in the future, it will be less about information. Information will be a commodity, or in other words, you can also say IQ. So the basic mathematic intelligence will be less and less important, and it will become more and more important, the EQ, the emotional intelligence. And I can completely see this in customer success also, this transition from this is the work relationship we have, and this is what we need to get done, and it gets done quite efficient because of AI. And then it's more about being creative together. It's more about trust. It's also about caring and being there. Again, this part of trust. But what's your opinion on how AI will move the way how customer success will be done in the future?
Well, that's an interesting question for an AI company.
Yeah.
So how I see it in terms of how our products are evolving and how much easier is this getting, it's massive. Yeah. So if we check what the assistant can do today, and how many insights you can get easily and fast, from your portfolio without needing to talk to people, which we all like doing, but in the end you want information quick.
Maybe a short insert here. So the assistant is, so back in the days, we were asking the customer, hey, what is the problem on that turbine? We see the temperature rising. And then we got an answer from them, hey, here, let me look into the service report. And then we got that information verbally in a meeting, and it was quite inefficient. And then now there's AI that can scrape documents, and you can just ask the chat, and it's completely changing how everything is done, right? So
and actually you don't need an engineer to do that part of the job. You know what I mean? In the end, it's about using the resources that customers and we all have in the best way possible. And it is true. These processes were so inefficient. Like, I need to look here. I don't find the document. I need to write an email to ask for it. All this now and soon will be automatized.
Yeah,
this is a huge leverage in terms of efficiency.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's this part where information becomes less and less the barrier or the gap. And it becomes more about, do I trust the system? Do I trust the people? With whom do I want to work together? And it's about the human interaction, about the relationship between the people, and
in the end, we all want to have a little bit of fun at work.
Yes.
And have like interactions that that bring you energy, you know.
Totally.
And that's a bit utopic sometimes. So of course, we are not always happy
Yeah.
But I give it a lot of importance to make
Yeah.
it in the most comfortable way
Yeah.
possible as well, so that we are all
Yeah,
enjoying.
and I think the very smart people who understand technology, etc., they exactly want that. And you said in the beginning, it's very hard to find technical operators, etc. But they also need to work with people they like. They need
Yeah.
to work on topics they like. That's the future, etc.
Yeah,
So
and it's
yeah.
an art to find out what, because there are always differences between people and people. There are people who like understanding the details a lot, and there are
Mhm.
people who like understanding the high level and managing to understand this, how one person is different from the other, and still managing to accommodate this in those interactions.
Yeah.
It can be tricky. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not always easy.
Yeah. I have a very nice question I want to ask you later, but I want to share a story, and maybe you can also share the way how you view it. Back in the days, in the days, I remember having a conversation with a customer where I was super frustrated. They really were super against what we were doing. They It was almost, I don't want to say aggressive, but like they denied everything that we were doing, and it was really, really hard. And there was a lot of emotions in the room. And I learned, okay, so and then we had a next meeting, and we got challenged quite a lot, and from that person, and then later we learned that that person who challenged us the most was actually the most pro what we are
Engaged.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so seeing and acting completely in a different way, how actually that person is viewing things was a big learning for me, that actually when people have a big emotion, that means they're super engaged. And
Yeah.
reading that was a big lesson for me in customer success. Yeah.
Yeah, those were the times where customer success was that human in the loop, that I
Yeah.
have mentioned. And that's getting a bit less over time, but
Yeah.
still it's like how to measure engagement. Yeah, sometimes it's not as straightforward as we think. And I also remember at the time where customer success was not actually doing customer success, but this is what we were doing. We were celebrating every time we were finding a big failure. I'm sorry to say this because we don't want this for our customers, but it was like, we found a membrane damage. And over time, we normalized it. That this celebration was not, because it was more or less.
It just becomes data now. It's like very usual that every day we find something.
Yeah.
But I also remember it was a big thing. And then also for the customers, we found something. Actually, this is working. AI is working. It makes sense. It's completely automated.
Yeah, you need to see this as a person to have the feeling that that's
completely
what you want. You really need to see that. So that phase that you were experiencing with this customer, it's becoming less, but that's how onboarding feels. That's what when I was saying overwhelming in terms of it's a lot of information, you're still building trust and navigating this. It must come from both sides.
Yeah, and the learning from that was also that we changed our starting phase or pilot phase to more turbines, so that the likelihood that we see something in a certain amount of time is much higher with less turbines. Because if you don't see a failure for 1 year, if you look at just one turbine, you might think, oh, this is not working. Yeah, but it is actually working. You just didn't have a failure. And
it's like statistically, how often do you have a gearbox damage? A big one, I mean, or a membrane damage. It doesn't happen in one turbine every year. Thanks God.
I think in the next podcast we're also talking about how the collaboration with insurances is working. can you tell us from the customer success perspective how that is changing your work with another party in this setup? We have Turbit, we have the operators, we have the service, and now insurance. Like, what do they want? What do you need to manage there? Or what does the customer need to manage there?
Good question. So in the end, insurance are extremely good at risk calculations, risk management. And this is where we align together. We want, in the end of the day, to reduce as much as possible risks. And this is why the synergy is so good with insurers, because this is what we all want. And in the end, for insurance, is about in the moment you have more data, you have more awareness, and therefore risks reduce, because the more information you have, the more you can prevent, and therefore risk is not as unexpected as it could be if you don't have as much data. It's a quite good collaboration because we all want the same. And it's about just bringing awareness that there's one more party in this team.
And in the end, I think also it's not much more work. It's just another person that also has more transparency, or another party that has more transparency, and a lot of things can be automated in the background.
This how it will evolve.
Really, really cool. I think there's much more things we can talk about, and maybe later we'll find another detail that we want to discuss in this podcast together, Andrea. Maybe one last question I have to you is, what are you most proud of when you look at yourself when you started in your customer success role and now? Like, what makes you very, very proud?
Wow, that's a good question. I think it has been quite a journey. I think working in a startup is really beautiful because it's really a roller coaster, and emotionally, you live everything much more intensely. I'm very happy to be taking the first steps towards creating a team here at Customer Success. Customer Success, I think this is something that I'm super proud of, and when I come to work, it's like I'm so happy, and I would be so happy if this continues increasing and growing, and I think it's really, really nice and a really good sign. And I'm also quite proud of being part of this increasing female presence in the industry. I think this is something that vibes quite well with me, and I'm also proud of that.
I think I can only agree to that. You can really, really be proud of that. It's great what you achieved, and I would really love to work in your team.
You're invited.
So for everyone who's interested, get back to us. Andrea has a lovely team. We're always looking for customer success people. And I think let's end the episode here. And was really nice talking to you, Andrea. Thank you for telling us a little bit more how you work, how your journey was here. And make sure that you subscribe to our podcast to hear more of these episodes. And the next episode is going to be about risk management and collaboration with the insurance, and how that is making the future of 100% renewable energies more possible. And really, we enjoyed it here, Andrea.
Thanks for having me. I hope I brought a little bit of light into how asset managers and operators in the wind industry work with AI. And thanks for having me here again.
Thank you, Andrea. Bye-bye.